Now, we've been telling you about the contract disputes between Essentia Health and the MNA. While many nurses have secured a contract, there's still a large group of healthcare workers who have not. They plan to strike tomorrow. Northern News Now's Ryan Hayes spoke with one of those nurses this evening.
As hundreds of acute care nurses at both Aspirus St. Luke's and Essentia Health have agreed to tentative contracts with their respective employers, nearly 300 healthcare workers at various facilities across our area are still without a contract and plan to begin their strike starting Tuesday morning.
It is 1st Street Building, 2nd Street Building, 3rd Street Building, Solvay House, Miller Surgery Center, Superior.
Julie Flotten works in the Cancer Center at Essentia's 1st Street Building. While she's happy acute care nurses at the hospital have secured a tentative contract with Essentia, she says the work for clinic nurses like herself isn't over.
Clinic nurses are trying to get a first contract established. We have always been non-contract employees, and so we are trying to establish a first contract.
They spent part of Monday preparing for their upcoming strike. MNA President Chris Rubesh says establishing a fair contract with these employers is critical for the union.
It's a fundamental document that establishes trust between us as workers and our employer. And if our employers aren't willing to come to the table and help us reach those agreements, we can't have trust in the relationship we have with our employers.
Flotten says clinic nurses have offered to negotiate every day with Essentia following their ULP, but have had no success.
Well, they need to come to the table. They need to talk with us and have dates. I mean, it feels like if they really want to avoid this, we would have been at the table already.
In addition to these strikes, advanced practice providers with Essentia are also seeking a contract. If nothing changes, their strike is set to begin Thursday morning. Reporting in Duluth, Ryan Hayes, Northern News Now.
We reached out to Essentia in hopes of hearing from someone about tomorrow's strike. No one was made available.